Good afternoon, guys. I have had a lovely, lazy Saturday morning watching the snow fall outside. We got a couple inches today, which was a bit of a surprise because it was so beautiful out yesterday, but I guess winter is not quite done with us yet. But since we are inside today and can't really do too much outside, we are gonna get some things done. The first thing we're going to be working on today is some hamburger buns. I like to make a whole batch of them and then I freeze them in tubes downstairs in our freezer using the resealable vacuum seal bags that I have. And it works out really well. This recipe is actually from King Arthur flour. It's a great recipe. I really like it and it freezes really well. We've had no issues with having weird tasting bread or anything like that, and they have been down there in the freezer like up to 6 months at a time. They always taste great and they always have a great texture. So let's get started with that. So this dough is an enriched recipe. It has both an egg and some butter in it. It makes it super buttery and delicious to eat. And the nice thing about it is that I pretty much just dump everything into the bowl and put it on with the dough hook and let it go for a couple minutes and it's basically done. I'll go ahead and make sure to link to the recipe in the description below if this is something that you guys want to try out. Quick tip, if you buy your yeast in bulk, you can go ahead and store it in your freezer and it will keep for a very long time. And this recipe has between a 3/4 and a 1/4 cup of water. I'm going to go ahead and add the 3/4, and then if I need more, I have more that I can add later. So I still have some flour down here that has not fully been hydrated yet. So we are going to add a little bit more of that water and let it go for another couple minutes. So I think my dough is ready and I'm just going to give it a little test. It stretches really nicely. It's not as sticky as it was, but it's definitely ready to go. And I don't waste getting a whole nother bowl out. I will just pull this down into this bowl and rub a little oil on some paper towel around the sides and call that good for letting it rise. And it'll rise for about an hour or two depending on the temperature. I did warm up my oven a little bit, so hopefully that'll help, and we'll see how that goes. So my dough was rising for about an hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and take it out, punch it down, and then we will divide it out into bun-sized portions, and they will go into their second rise for another hour. And then to get these in a little bun shape, I just kind of use the countertop in my hand and make a little cage, holding it like this, and rub in a little circle on the countertop, and just kind of brings everything together and tightens up the top, and you get these perfect little buns. So our final little thing to do today is to check up on plants. They are all looking really good. And the ones that I did last week are just starting to sprout, a couple of them. So everything looks good. Soil is still moist. So we're gonna leave it at that. And then we're gonna come over in here and grab some cheese. So this is a cheese that I started at the beginning of the year, and I am trying to work on getting better with my cheddar. So this is a cloth bound cheddar. I know it looks really weird, but I think that's how it's supposed to look. But we are going to go take it upstairs and give it a try. So this is the first time that I've tried to do a cloth bound cheddar. I'm hoping that it'll help with the texture a little bit. I have found that my cheeses are fairly dry and crumbly, so I'm trying to go for that cheddar firm slicing texture. Kind of feeling it. It feels very similar to all the other ones I've done, so I don't think I've succeeded this time, but we're going to go ahead and see how it tastes. Using cheesecloth to bind like this allows the gases to pass in and out, and is supposed to improve the flavor of your cheese. Looks pretty interesting. It's not as crumbly.
No, that's good.
Like, it's cutting kind of nice. The outer part, but the inner part's a little softer.
Okay.
It tastes like cheddar.
Oh, great.
That tastes like cheddar.
Yeah.
I think that's the closest I've gotten.
That is.
And
like,
the texture isn't bad. It's a little dry, but not.
That's like mild to sharp cheddar there.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
Just about 2.5 months old. So it does, sort of. It crumbles a little bit, but it definitely stays together enough to do some shredded cheese, which is what we use the most of. Pretty cool. So I have grated some of this and put it into a little baggie. I have also sliced a couple different slices, and those have also gone into a baggie with some parchment. They're going to go down in the freezer, and I'm going to see how they do frozen. That will stop the aging process, and it will be a nice way that we can preserve them if I don't want to keep having them on the shelf or putting them in the cheese fridge. So these have risen for another hour. I'm going to go ahead and start preheating my oven, and then we're going to do a quick egg wash on the top of these and sprinkle some sesame seeds, and they'll be ready to go in for about 12 to 15 minutes. Look how well these turned out, guys. They are absolutely beautiful, and they are so easy to make. Like I said, they do really well in the freezer. We have kept them in the freezer up to 6 months, and I would totally suggest trying it if it is something that you guys are interested in. And if you want to make sure that your bread doesn't get all squished up when it's being vacuum sealed, you can freeze it. I usually put it in the freezer for a couple hours till overnight before putting it into my vacuum seal bags and vacuum sealing as normal. I find that using the vacuum seal bags helps keep the frost burn from getting to my bread, and it's a super easy way to keep it fresh. That's all we have for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. There'll be a link below for the recipe, and I'll see you guys next time.